What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome to another flashback talking about the 2015 NFL Draft. And again, much like the mock draft that I did, or will do, there's going to be no face cam because I really hated the way that I did my videos for the 2015 draft. And ultimately, my videos that I, it's ideal if I could pause it on a graphic and talk about that, but I just kind of rambled, and more so just had the thumbnails kind of represent a visual description of my prospect rankings, which is what we're going to be doing today. So ultimately, I'll just show you the thumbnail that I had for each position, which reflects the top player I had at said position and their pro comp, but I'll talk about each individual rankings just to see if I was a smart ass or a dumbass in each individual spot. Hopefully a little bit more smart than dumb. For some reason, I didn't do defensive line, so no edge rushers or defensive tackles. I don't know why. Maybe I was getting a lot of feedback at the time that no one cared about that one minuscule position, but for some reason I did offensive guards and centers, the interior offensive line. Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump in to the quarterbacks. As you can see by the thumbnail, we got to talk about Marcus Mariota in just 1 second. But my top 5 quarterbacks for the 2015 draft class were Garrett Grayson from Colorado State, who I compared to Derek Carr. Yikes. Number 4 was Brett Hundley from UCLA, who I compared to Colin Kaepernick. Kind of similar. Yeah, you can see that. Some shades in Brett Hundley's game when he was able to take over for Aaron Rodgers for the Packers. QB3, I had Bryce Petty from Baylor, who I compared to Tony Romo. Yikes. I remember I stuck my knuckle in the line. Bryce Petty was like my sleeper QB that I was going to just try to rank higher than everybody else. NFL is not like the offense and defenses he would have played while he was at Baylor. QB2, I went with Jameis Winston from Florida State, and I compared him to Byron Leftwich. You know what? Jury's still out on that one. Brian Leftwich was a serviceable quarterback. Jameis Winston definitely needs to develop to really, establish himself as a Jameis Winston and not someone else. Man, Jameis Winston is probably one of the hardest quarterbacks to talk about in the league. I don't want to upset Buck fans, but all I'm saying is that in terms of development, the things that Jameis Winston still sucks at are the exact same things he sucked at in college. You'd figure someone at the next level in the NFL would have been able to get him out of those habits. We had to wait and see. It's not an open and shut case with Winston. He still has time. And my QB1 was Marcus Mariota, who I compared to a smaller Cam Newton, as you can tell from the graphic that would have been posted or you're seeing right now. And yeah, I think that's, kind of close in terms of play style. They both struggle reading the defenses at times, can get sloppy once you get pressure on them. But when they are on fire, they are very, very exciting to watch. And ultimately, Marcus Mariota, and much like Jameis Winston, both those guys are still trying to carve out their niche and establish a consistent run. But they both have hot and cold streaks, and when they're cold, they look like, maybe he's not a franchise quarterback. Maybe he's just a, roster, what would be the word there? A rosterable quarterback. And then when they're hot, they look like, damn, this guy here is like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So definitely want to see more consistency from the 2015 quarterback draft class. Moving to the running backs. Ooh, okay. So running back 5, I had Amir Abdullah, who I compared to Andre Ellington. That's pretty damn close, to be honest with you. Running back 4, I went with Tevin Coleman from Indiana. I compared him to Joik Bell. I think Tevin Coleman, who I did have higher on a lot of people's lists, he wasn't really a top 5 running back consensus, and now we see, as a tandem there in Atlanta with Devontae Freeman has been very, very serviceable. But Joik Bell is not the best comp. Running back 3, I went with Duke Johnson from Miami. I compared to C.J. Spiller. Pretty fair comp. You can probably say Duke Johnson is a little bit better of a receiving back. Running back 2, I had Melvin Gordon from Wisconsin, who I compared to Darren McFadden. You know what? Kind of close. When Darren McFadden was actually really good and able to stay healthy for the Raiders earlier on, he was pretty damn good. Kind of look at Melvin Gordon now in Anthony Lynn's offense there. And then at running back 1, I went with Todd Gurley from Georgia. I was always a big Todd Gurley fan, but I compared him to Marshawn Lynch. He's much more versatile than Marshawn Lynch. He's literally like if Marshawn Lynch was a better athlete and could catch. So I think when all is said and done, here's a hot take for this video. I think when their careers are done, Todd Gurley's going to have a better career. Numbers and all that stuff over Marshawn Lynch. Whew. Hot take. Moving on to our wide receivers. So here were my top 5 wide receivers. Number 5, I had Sammy Coates from Auburn. I compared him to Torrey Smith. That's kind of similar. Number 4, I had Devontae Parker from Louisville. I compared him to Hakeem Nicks. Yeah, I could see that. Wide receiver 3, I had Jalen Strong from Arizona State. I compared him to Jordan Matthews of the Philadelphia Eagles. You probably still edge that one to Jordan Matthews, but in terms of play style, yeah, kinda. Wide receiver 2, I had Kevin White from West Virginia. I compared him to DeAndre Hopkins. Absolutely not. Kevin White can't stay healthy whatsoever. And yeah, not DeAndre Hopkins, who's top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And as you can tell from the little picture, I had Amari Cooper from Alabama. I compared him to Reggie Wayne. And Reggie Wayne was incredibly sure-handed. Very good hands, very good technical wide receiver. When you look at Amari Cooper, you see plenty of mental mistakes, drops, and stuff like that. The kind of consistencies that definitely makes the comp to Reggie Wayne not look so hot. But I think from the wide receivers from the 2015 draft class, let me just pump this up here. Draft class. Amari Cooper still might be regarded as the top wide receiver. I mean, I could be wrong on that one, but when you look at the wide receivers, you know, you're probably still saying Amari Cooper's the best of the bunch. You got Jamison Crowder, Devin Funchess there, but you'd probably say I was right on that one. And then again, it goes with all my other rankings. Quarterback, I had Marcus Mariota as number 1. You would have to probably agree that Marcus Mariota was the number 1 quarterback still from that draft class. I had Todd Gurley as my running back 1. Todd Gurley, I mean, David Johnson made things interesting, but I think with David Johnson being hurt and Todd Gurley having a full season, you're probably still going to edge that one out to Mr. Todd Gurley. So I'm 3 positions for 3 for the best. Maybe the comps are off, but at least the positions are right. Moving to the less sexier position, the offensive line. For the tackle spot, we had Lael Collins at 5, who we compared to Donald Penn. Not really, but I think Collins is serviceable. 4, we had Cedric Abouye from A&M, who we compared to Russell Okung. Nope. 3, Andrews Pete from Stanford, who I compared to Jake Matthews. Maybe. I'd still probably give that edge to Jake Matthews because he actually could start as position. Number 2, we went with TJ Clemmings from Pitt. I compared with Dwayne Brown, and nope. And number 1, we went with Brendan Schriff from Iowa, who I compared to Luke Jokel. Brendan Schriff definitely got the position right, even though he now plays more of a guard role for the Washington Redskins. Schriff is the best from the tackles, without a doubt, from that year's draft class, and he's actually better than the comp. I definitely would rather Brendan Schriff than Luke Jokel when all is said and done. And when you look at the class, he absolutely is the best tackle that was taken there. So 3, what's that? 4 for 4. I'm damn perfect right now. Looking at interiors, the offensive guards and centers, for those of you that even care, we had Reese Dismukes. We're just not going to do the comps. Let's get through it. Reese Dismukes from Auburn. I don't think he's in the NFL. At 5. 4 was Cam Irving from Florida State. You know, he's struggling to hold on to a job. 3 was Trey Jackson from Florida State. Again, struggling to hold on for a job. 2 was Honus Grassy from Oregon, who I think played with the Bears a little bit, but yeah. And number 1, I had AJ Cann from South Carolina, who I compared to Trey Turner. And AJ Cann's actually been a very good guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's a perfect 5 for 5. Someone call it the Booker T. 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion of the... We'll carry on. So like I said, I didn't do defensive end, defensive line for some reason. I really don't know why. So we will talk about outside and inside linebackers. For my outside linebackers, I guess we could also chalk this one up to edge rushers. At number 5, we had Bud Dupree from Kentucky, who I compared to Jamie Collins. You probably would rather Jamie Collins on that one. 4, we had a Louis Kikaha from Washington, who I compared to Rob Ninkovich. Again, not really the best comp. You probably would go with Rob Ninkovich on that one. Number 3, we went with Shaq Thompson from Washington, who I compared to DeAndre Levy, which, you know, DeAndre Levy in his prime at Detroit was one of the better cover linebackers in football. So I actually think that's a pretty good comp. Number 2, we had Vic Beasley from Clemson, who I compared to Von Miller. Not on that level yet, but Vic Beasley is a very, very good edge rusher. I think Von Miller's a little bit more well-rounded. And for outside linebacker edge rusher, number 1 with Dante Fowler from Florida. I could probably say maybe my Florida Gator bias came in on that one, but as you can tell from the picture, we compared him to Khalil Mack. He is nowhere near Khalil Mack's level, even though, you know, I think he's growing and finding a role on that Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line. But you know what? I think of this, you probably would still have Vic Beasley and Shaq Thompson at Fowler. So we'll say we were wrong on the edge rusher outside linebacker spot. Moving into the inside linebackers, at number 5, we went with Ramik Wilson from Georgia, who I compared to Zach Brown. Yeah, kinda. I think Ramik Wilson will be decent to take over for Derek Johnson when he hangs him up in Kansas City. At 2, we had A.J. Johnson from Tennessee, who compared to Joe Mays. I mean, what? Here's what that... number 3, we had Eric Kendricks from UCLA, who I compared to Michael Kendricks. I think Michael Kendricks is still much more athletic, but, you know, Eric Kendricks will be a little bit more technical. Linebacker 2, we had Denzel Perryman, who I compared to Chris Borland. That's actually not too far off. Borland retired from the NFL a couple years ago, but was a tackle machine. Perryman needs to stay a little bit more healthy. And inside linebacker number 1, we went Bernardrick McKinney from Texas, who I compared to Brian Cushing, his now teammate. I definitely think McKinney, you know, Cushing after steroids was never the same type of linebacker. McKinney right now, I think when you look at the inside linebackers, or just linebackers in general from that class, you probably would say McKinney's the best. I mean, it's definitely debatable between him and Eric Kendricks. You got Jordan Hicks, Quan Alexander. But I'm going to say that's you know, up for debate, so I'm not going to take an L on that one. Jumping to the cornerbacks, here we go. Cornerback 5, I had Jalen Collins from LSU. Compared him to Peanut Tillman. Nope. Corner 4, we had P.J. Williams from Florida State compared him to Stephon Gilmore. Nope. Corner 3, we had Ifo Ekpe-Olumu from Oregon, who we compared to Sunday Samuel. And Olumu was going to be considered one of the top corners in the draft class, but he had a really bad injury from Oregon towards ACL and kind of never moved on. My favorite corner from that class, but I have at number 2, was Marcus Peters from Washington, who I compared to Aqib Talib. That's kind of close, I guess. And corner 1 with Trey Waynes from Michigan State, who I compared to Kyle Fuller. And again, kind of similar path. Most of those guys are just a guy, a solid corner, definitely rosterable. Probably haven't lived up to expectations. So, but definitely, Marcus Peters should have been number 1 from that draft class. When you look at the corners from that class, Marcus Peters is probably the best. Yeah, I don't think there's really any other corner that's kind of close. Ronald Darby, probably. You could probably say, yeah, that's probably Ronald Darby. So, wrong on that one. And finishing out with the safeties. At number 5, Darren Smith of Fresno State. I compared to Marcus Gilchrist. Who cares? 4, we had Jaquiski Tart, who from Sanford. Compared to Barry Church. Tart is actually really good in the Niners. Underrated. 3, we had Gerard Hollyman from Louisville. We compared him to Jarris Bird. Nope. 2, we had Cody Pruitt from Ole Miss, the Land Sharks. We compared him to Mark Barron, sorry. Nope. But number 1, we were right. We had Landon Collins from Alabama. We compared him to Eric Berry. And maybe Landon Collins from 2016 could compare to Eric Berry. But, he still has a little bit of ways to go to get that honest comparison. But still, we will take the dub on the safety comparison. So all in all, did not look like a dumbass too much when talking about the 2015 NFL draft prospects. Looking back on the draft class, let me know in the comment section below, guys, if you had any players that you knew were going to be sleepers that turned out to be really, really good. Let me know if you thought someone was going to be awesome and they ended up being a bust. As always, if you're your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.